Hey everyone, it's Lisa with Are You My Cousin? And it's time for our Thursday YouTube/Facebook Live. So welcome, regardless of whether you are watching us live on Facebook or on YouTube. We are glad that you are here. And as you can see today, I actually have a guest with me. Mary Eberle, our DNA hunter, is here. And Mary, thank you so much for joining us again. I love having you monthly because I'm learning so much.
Oh, thanks, Lisa. It's great to be here.
You are welcome. We are glad to have you. So as you are coming in and joining us here for our live, I did want to make a couple of announcements that we have going on here at Are You My Cousin? So just to let you know, the first thing, the latest post came out this week on the website at Are You My Cousin? And it is about overcoming brick walls. It's about, I offer up 7 ways of understanding why you might have a brick wall and what you can possibly do to overcome those brick walls. So you might want to take a look at that if you're stuck in your research. I know I get stuck in there. I'm going to go ahead and pop that link into the chat. If you are watching this, excuse me, on YouTube and you're watching the replay, I will actually put the link in the description below, so you'll find it there. The other thing to let you know is that I know the Black Friday sales have come and gone, but there are still a lot of genealogy bargains out there. So it is not too late to get in on the genealogy, my frugal genealogy email that comes out once a week. I've got one coming out tomorrow, so I'll pop that into the chat as well. You can sign up for that. That is a separate email sign up, so you so only if you're interested in getting those sales and notification of ongoing sales that come out once a week, you can sign up there. So I don't muddy up the weekly email with all of those. So that's there and will come out. Feel free to sign up for that. And I only do that through December, guys. So once January comes, I'm done with that email until the following October or so. So it's just kind of a limited time thing there. Big announcement though, I want to make sure you guys put on your calendar is December 15th. So gosh, that's next week. It on December 15th, it's 11 a.m. Eastern time. I will be talking with Jen Baldwin. She'll be joining me, and she is going to be sharing with us how to find, as we like to call them, hidden Americans in the British records. So I think you definitely want to join us for that. I've learned so much just talking with Jen and preparing for this talk. I'm so excited about it and can't wait, and hope you can join us as well. So that would be great. Hey, Dave, it's good to see you. You're in Linden, Washington for a couple of hours. Oh, wow. Welcome. Glad you're here, Andrea Tolbert. Interesting. I love your name. Hey, it's nice to see you, Andrea. I love that my maiden name is actually Talbot, Talbott. And so sometimes I see that Tolbert name show up as a spelling. So welcome. Hey, Bridget, good to see you again this week. And Danny, wonderful. You're from sunny Loveland, Ohio. I'm in sort of sunny North Carolina. Mary is in, I don't know what it's like, but probably cold, Wisconsin.
It is. It's sunny though.
Oh, well, that's always good. Hey, Danya, it's good to see you. She's from Georgia. Bobby from Virginia Beach, Virginia, yes. And down Fall Creek from Australia. So wonderful. Good morning over to our Australian friend over there. Yes, it is actually tomorrow already over there. So thank you so much. I'm really excited that you could join us as well. Okay, so those were kind of my announcements that I have. Feel free, guys, if you are new here and have not listened to one of our chats, we are casual. Please put your comments and questions in the chat box. I do watch those and and Mary can see those as well, so we can answer your questions as we go along. So, oh, we have somebody from Madison, Wisconsin. Hey, Dee, very nice to have you here. Just somewhere in the vicinity of Mary there, and Charlie from California. Wonderful, sunny. Sounds like everybody's having good weather. All right, Mary, we are here today to talk about the XDNA. And I've been thrilled because, as I was telling you earlier, I don't know much about it.
Yeah, it's a kind of DNA that isn't talked about a whole lot. And it's interesting because it is one of the sex chromosomes. So we know about Y DNA and that men have Y DNA, but they also have X DNA. So they get the Y from their fathers and they get the X from their mothers. Women actually have 2 different X chromosomes, one from their moms and one from their dads. So it's a unique inheritance pattern. As you can tell from that we as women have 2 and men have only 1. It doesn't pass from man to man. So that's just because men give a Y to their sons. And that means that if you have an XDNA match, you can assume that it comes from certain lines in your family.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. I had never really, I've seen that XDNA match come through, but to be honest, I've been so, I get so stuck in, trying to figure out the Y or the autosomal that I had not paid attention to really what that XDNA could be telling me. So that's really good to know. So how does it help? So if it can indicate which line or lines, I suppose, how does that help with the genealogy? I mean, how would you use that?
Well, a big one is that if a man has an XDNA match, and that's typically in combination with an autosomal DNA match, that we know that that match is from his mother's side.
Okay.
Because that XDNA is traveling down to him from his mother. And, right away, you can rule out the paternal matches, and say that, this match is on my mom's side.
That's huge. That can be really big, and trying to find your ancestors, because it's half the battle sometimes is which line are you looking at?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And none of the autosomal DNA chromosomes tell you that. You can have a match on chromosome 1 and chromosome 10, and sometimes people ask me, well, how can I figure out if it's from my mom's side or my dad's side? And if that's all you know is that the matches are there, then you've got to do some more research. You have to find some more information. Typically, that's a shared match where you've got a known maternal or paternal. But just because you have a match on chromosomes 1 and 10, it could be from your mom or it could be from your dad, because we get one of chromosome 1s from our mom and one of chromosomes 10 from our dad. Excuse me. For each pair, I'll start over.
Mm-hmm.
For each pair, we get one from our mom and one from our dad. So, and that's each pair of those autosomal DNA chromosomes. And unlike those, for the X, we're getting them from unique ancestors or unique parents in the case of men.
Mm-hmm. So what would be, if I'm testing, what is my indication that I need to take it further? Say I do the autosomal DNA, like the Ancestry DNA or what, like Family Finder, Family Tree DNA, and I get a match. What is my indication that I need to take it further and go ahead and test on that X? Is it because well, you tell me. I'm not sure what I'm trying to. So how do I know to test for XDNA, I guess?
Well, that's a really good question. And actually, none of the DNA testing companies sell an XDNA test.
Okay.
But it's included with the autosomal DNA test. And that means that if they're showing you in a chromosome browser your DNA,
Mm-hmm.
then you'll be able to look and see down at the very bottom, which is where the X is listed, you'll be able to see if the match is on your X chromosome.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So you have to go beyond just as people know, the ethnicity part of it. You've got to get into that chromosomal mapping or chromosomal. I can't talk today either, guys. What's going on? It's too close to Christmas. You have to get into the chromosome map to see where that match is, or if that match is occurring.
Right. And on Family Tree DNA, they do tell you that on the match list. There will be a column that says XDNA. But you need to double check and make sure that that is a true XDNA match, and that's because family tree DNA, they'll show you matches that are really tiny pieces of DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a 2 centimorgan or 3 centimorgan XDNA match, they'll put you in that list. They'll denote that, yes, this is also an XDNA match.
Mm-hmm.
But once you move it into the chromosome browser at FTDNA, then you can see, is it a teeny tiny piece of DNA that doesn't really matter, or is it a good DNA match on that X chromosome? And I use 7 centimorgans as my cutoff. So I want to see something at least 7 centimorgans. So although FTDNA shows you that you've got this X match, you have to double check. And I would say that the majority of the time, based on my matches, the majority of the time, the people who are in my match list at Family Tree DNA that are shown as my XDNA matches, once I move them into that chromosome browser and I look more carefully, they just fall off. That it's just a really small piece of DNA that's not, as I say, genealogically relevant.
Okay. Well, and I was going to ask you, what do you consider a good number of centimorgans? And you said 7 is kind of where what you use. But if you find that X match, say at an Ancestry or MyHeritage or one of those, are they usually a little more, not robust, but is their threshold higher than, say, the 2 to 3 centimorgans, or do they have a higher threshold for theirs?
Okay. Well, unfortunately, it's kind of a mess. So Ancestry, they test the X chromosome, but they don't have a chromosome browser. So they don't show you where your match is. And that means that you would need to transfer into GEDmatch or Family Tree DNA in order to see where the matching segments are. MyHeritage is interesting because they have a chromosome browser, but they don't show you your XDNA matches. And I did ask Daniel Horowitz about this because I really like XDNA. It's helpful in the minority of the cases, but I think it's fun because you've got that pattern of from whom you can inherit it. So I give a couple of XDNA talks, and I figured that since MyHeritage had a chromosome browser, that I would be able to see my XDNA matches in it. And Daniel said, no, you cannot. And then I said, well, when can I? When are you going to roll this out? Because I think it's a really useful feature. And he said, we have no plans to include it.
Okay.
So that brings us back to Family Tree DNA, which I mentioned. And then also on GEDmatch, you'll be able to see your XDNA matches. And actually, GEDmatch has some really interesting tools for XDNA.
Okay. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, so it sounds like everybody actually includes testing of that XDNA in the test. So whether it's Ancestry, whether it's living DNA, or was it living DNA, whether it's MyHeritage or any of those, they all include it. But Family Tree is the only one that shows you the matches because they have the chromosome browser. And then otherwise you have to upload from the other sites into like a GEDmatch or over to Family Tree DNA. Did I say that right?
So if and I forgot to mention 23andMe, because
they
actually show you your XDNA matches in their chromosome browser.
Okay.
So the times when you would need to upload or transfer your results would be if you've tested at Ancestry, and that's the only place you've tested, or if you tested at MyHeritage, and you've only tested there or at Ancestry, because those are the two places that don't show you your XDNA matches.
Okay.
They don't show you, well, I'll leave it at that.
Oh, yeah. Now, are you familiar with, does living DNA show X matches? I'm sitting here trying to remember. I don't remember if they do or not. I know a lot of people have not, it's not as popular to test with as some of the others, but I didn't know if they showed it as well. I'll have to go look at mine at some point.
I'm not sure. I know they're looking at mitochondrial DNA and Y DNA and autosomal DNA. And I think they used to refer to their test as a 3-in-1 test because of that. And that's very similar to what 23andMe offers. So basically, in one DNA kit, they're testing these different things. But I'm not sure about the X. That's a good question.
I'll have to go look at that. Yes. So interesting. So Bridget had a question. She said she just was clarifying 7 centimorgans on the X chromosome, not the total centimorgans shared. Is that correct?
Right. A segment that's at least 7 centimorgans. So maybe there's a 7 centimorgan segment there, and maybe a 15 centimorgan segment on the X, and then hopefully you've got a few other segments throughout the autosomal DNA.
So, when we get done here today, I'm going to be going back into all my DNA results and going, where is that? To see where that's coming from. So you got me definitely thinking on that. So did you want to, I know you've got the pedigree chart. Did you want to share that?
Sure, that would be great if we could do that.
Great for me to do. Okay, guys, hang on, guys. I got to try something new. No, I'm going to share my screen. And give me just a moment, guys, and I will have it open for you. Just one moment. I think I found it this time, Mary. There it is. Okay. Can you guys see that okay?
I can see it.
Great. Okay.
Okay. And this is a new, I'm calling it a cheat sheet for XDNA. And it shows you on the top is if you're a man, the ancestors from whom you can inherit your XDNA. So it starts out with his mother and then both of her parents. So that would be his 2 maternal grandparents. And then at the next generation, you'll see that we're missing one of the 4 at that great grandparent level. And that's because it is a father of a son. And as I mentioned, that father would have passed his Y DNA to the son and not any X DNA. And as we go back in time, we have fewer and fewer lines from which this X DNA could come. And this is relevant because when a man has an X DNA match, we know, as I mentioned earlier, that it must be from his mom's side, but we can further narrow down the branches that match is on.
Okay. How many generations back, since it is, you get, it's, how many generations back will that XDNA go, or can you track it?
I would think it's the 5 to 8 generations. Just depending, because once we get to a certain point, we're starting to lose those segments of DNA that we're looking for. Right. And once you lose it, then, everyone older than them is gone. So I've seen instances where the match was, let's say, a 3rd great grandparent to both people. So that's a lot of generations. Yeah. But then, it just like DNA gets passed down to us in a random fashion in that we're always getting the half. And so at every generation it gets halved. And, ultimately you're going to start losing some of those ancestors. Right.
Oh, that's interesting. Yes. I hadn't really thought about that in terms, but it makes sense. That you can get up to like that 5 to 8 generation, but I expect getting that 8 generation back is probably doesn't happen as often. Is that right?
Right. It's going to fall off, definitely.
Gotcha. But with the female, the women's XDNA sources, she definitely has more options. So it's a little harder to, it looks to me like it's harder to figure out exactly which line that you would pull from on that.
Mm-hmm. Right. We're still eliminating some of those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, on our father's line,
Mm-hmm.
so the direct Y line, the XDNA matches are not coming from there, and instead they're coming from our father's mother.
Gotcha.
And if that's the person you're researching, then that can be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also losing some of the people on our mother's line.
Mm-hmm.
So when it gets to our great grandparents, that's when we're starting to lose people from our maternal great grandparents.
Got it. Because you've lost 3 right there.
We've got, right.
If I think I'm on the right column, and then even I see, yes. And then the next generation back, you definitely have a larger percentage that are dropped off because you can't come from them. So definitely. Oh, I like this. Now we know what I'll be doing this afternoon.
Yeah, and this is a handout that people can get, and it's at dnahunters.com/xdna.
Yeah, I'll pop that in the group for us.
Okay.
Let me come back and find you guys again here. Perfect. All right. There we go. I'm here. All right, here, guys. I'll put that in the comments down below. Give me just 1 second to get that typed in. That's a great little handout. I think that's going to be really helpful to have kind of sitting beside me as I start to work through these problems and issues I have. Let's see, do I have that typed in correctly? Yes, I think I do. Okay, guys, there it's coming through. Double check my.
Yeah, that's
my
right.
address. Is that right? Okay, wonderful. So now this is the type of thing that you would cover like in your DNA Hunter Society, right? This type lectures around this type of diving even further into the XDNA chromosome mapping and that kind of thing.
Right. We've got one masterclass that is the how-to aspect of using XDNA, and then we have a second masterclass that is case studies. So case studies focused exclusively on XDNA. I talk about one adoption situation where I found a woman's birth father using XDNA in combination with autosomal DNA. And then the second case study is where I was able to identify my second great grandmother's parents through XDNA.
Oh, wow.
And again, in combination with the autosomal DNA. But yeah, it was, so that was really interesting because it was so far back in time. But I noticed that my brother had an XDNA match over on GEDmatch. And I knew that was from our mom's side because that's the only place he got XDNA from. And, working my way back onto Ancestry and finding that person. And, he luckily had a nice tree posted, and all the pieces fit together to figure out who that second great grandmother's biological parents were. Her mother gave birth to her on the way over to the New World from Norway. And her dad brought her to Wisconsin, where I live, and he gave her away to another family who adopted her.
Okay.
It was his first child, and he met a family also from Norway, and the story goes that they had just lost a child, and they said that they would raise her as their own.
Oh, okay.
So, my sister and I had spent years, looking for, who are her parents, who who's the mom who died in New York Harbor, who's her dad who left her and moved on to Minnesota, we found out. And, I called the church where she's buried. I did this, I did that. I went to the historical society in the tiny little town where she grew up. And, it's just like everyone was, like, I don't know who her biological parents were. So, it was really neat to be able to use that XDNA to figure that out.
Nice. Yes, that is. It definitely is just another kind of tool in the DNA toolbox that you can use to figure that out. And I think case studies are really so helpful to watch how something like that, to see it in action, can be so helpful with that kind of thing. All right. So as we kind of come to, so let's see. Somebody had a question over here. Danya said, should that be dnahunters.com/XDNA?
Yes.
Yes. So that'll do it. Perfect. All right. So tell us a little bit about your DNA society, your DNA Hunter Society, before we wrap things up today.
Sure. Yeah. It's a small group of people, and we are meeting right now on a weekly basis for a master class. And the master classes are on things like XDNA that I mentioned. There are also ones on specific DNA testing companies, ones on advanced topics like using certain tools, and of course there are the introductory ones also. So we are meeting right now and through March 1st on a weekly basis and doing those master classes. They're recorded and uploaded to a library. So if people can't attend, then they can listen to the video later. And there are handouts that go along, just like if you went to a genealogy conference or a society meeting, a lot of times you get the big handouts. And many case studies. And then right now there are twice a month Q&A calls where the members ask questions and I answer them. And there's also a community forum and member discounts if you would like me to do the research, just to turn it over to me. So it's been a lot of fun. And, I actually really enjoy those case studies because it's really fun to think about what happened and the pieces that got put together and the steps and all of the little clues that came together in addition to the DNA, along with the DNA work itself, and how that has really evolved over the last 5 or 6 years. I actually did a case study yesterday. I didn't mention this at the time, but it was the very first adoption case that I solved where someone was looking for their birth father. And in the presentation, I showed all these modern day tools and how things were analyzed. And truth be told, back then, like 5.5 years ago, I was plotting out the DNA matches on a graph and saying, okay, a second cousin should share this much DNA. A first cousin, once removed, should share that much DNA. Here's what the match shares. And I was doing basically a linear regression, I think, and trying to figure out oh my gosh, who's this person? She shares 370 centimorgans. Today we have these wonderful tools like the Shared Centimorgan Project, where you just type in 370 and it spits out, here are all the possible relationships and here are the probabilities. And back then I was actually sitting in a bar in Madison, Wisconsin with my husband, and he was probably having some beer and I was, graphing this thing out, trying to put the pieces together. So it's fun to think about how this happened, and and also the personal stories about the adoptee wanted to reach out to her potential half niece's husband. For some reason, the adoptee just felt like that was the safer route to go, and and just how it all did come together, and it was the birth father that I had identified, it was confirmed that he was the birth father. So
nice. Nice,
just
nice bit of detective work. You did it the hard way, the old-fashioned way. The hard way.
that's right.
So Dee has a question. She's asking if this is correct. She said, if a woman doing DNA research on her mother's lines, it'd be a good idea to have the brother and also do an autosomal test in order to eliminate the paternal matches.
The brother would be able to identify some of the maternal matches through this XDNA. You know, so it's really the minority of the matches where you're seeing the X also matching.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of like saying we're only going to look at matches who share DNA on chromosome 5. Like it's,
Okay.
you know, it's the DNA that's shared in those segments is randomly distributed, and some of them are going to happen to match on the X. And it's really the minority of the matches, but sometimes it's really helpful. And you can say, well, these have to be on my mom's side because they share XDNA with my brother.
Okay, so it is helpful to have a brother to test to help you rule out some of them, to narrow the choices down.
Right.
For where you need to go.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. I wonder if my brother has actually tested. I'm like, let me think on that.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. Oh, wonderful. So let me put the link to your DNA Society's Hunters in the chat here. And if you want to tell them anything about it.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, one new thing is that I'm doing a gift membership. So if you would like to give somebody a holiday gift, there is an annual membership that won't auto-renew. So it'll just be for 1 year in the membership. And so that is a new option. You could also hint that might be something you would like. So that's what's new right now.
Yep. Yes. Oh, this is great. So, you know, and if you want to buy yourself a Christmas gift, guys, we won't tell anybody that you bought yourself a Christmas gift, but if you want to, or if you want to, you know, like pass that along to your family member and go, this is what I want for Christmas. That works. And it doesn't clutter up your house. So.
Right. It's very green. There's no, you know, free shipping. Oh.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about any of that. Yeah. So wonderful. Excellent. Well, Mary, thank you so much. I've learned a lot about this XDNA, and so I definitely have I would see it, you know, but I really didn't. I kind of knew what it was, not a whole lot about it, and would focus on a lot of the other stuff because I understood it better. So now I am, and so I want to go back to my matches and now take a closer look at those X matches and see what it is I'm really looking at and make sure I'm not missing something there that could potentially be helpful. So thank you so much for enlightening us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Oh,
Thanks so much.
I'm glad that you're here. Guys, if you don't know, or if you've noticed that Mary comes, she shows up once a month now for me here. It's usually the second Thursday of the month to talk DNA with us. So I'm so excited that she's here to do that with us. So feel free to join us every Thursday. If you'd like at 3 p.m., I am here. Sometimes it's just me. Sometimes it's myself and a guest. But regardless, we love to talk genealogy over here on the Are You My Cousin Facebook page and the YouTube channel. So always happy to have you here. Feel free to do that. Also, guys, if you have friends that you feel like would enjoy listening to what Mary had to say about the XDNA or any of the videos, feel free to share them. You can absolutely share those on your social media or just send them a link if you feel like that might help them. So would love to have you. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap things up. I hope to see you. The very next thing will be December 15th. That's Tuesday at 11 a.m. That's the talk that I'm doing with Jen Baldwin of Find My Past. So I hope that you guys will join us then, and then see you next Thursday right back here. Have a great day, guys. Bye.
Bye.